Meanwhile, Liwei sat in his office, his thoughts drifting back to when Amara had called him babe. The memory made him chuckle softly to himself, finding it unexpectedly cute. He also thought about how she often teased him by calling him her big baby. Though he never admitted it to her, he loved hearing it. It meant something to him, her effort to treat him like an ordinary man, not just the cold, calculating figure everyone else saw. With her, he felt almost normal, forgetting the darker parts of himself he despised. Turning back to his laptop, he typed into the search bar, "How to be gentle with a woman during intimacy." Several articles appeared, and he carefully scanned through each one, studying them as though they were business contracts. A quiet laugh escaped him when he realized just how far he was willing to go for her. For Amara, he was willing to learn softness. By mistake, he clicked on a video, and explicit sounds filled the office. At that exact moment, his assistant walked in. Liwei snapped the laptop shut immediately, startled. His sharp gaze locked on the assistant as he coldly stated that next time, he should learn to knock before entering. The assistant, uncomfortable after hearing what had just played, nodded quickly and apologized, promising to knock in the future. Stepping forward, the assistant handed him an envelope, explaining that it was an invitation to his uncle's upcoming birthday celebration. Liwei glanced at the invitation briefly before setting it aside, then asked if there was anything else. The assistant hesitated before adding that apparently he was expected to bring a +1, and asked if he would be taking his girlfriend. At that, Liwei's expression hardened, his gaze sharp and unyielding. He demanded to know why the assistant seemed so certain he had a girlfriend. Flustered, the assistant stammered that it was only because Liwei had once instructed him to arrange a date, and so he had assumed. Rising from his chair, Liwei walked toward him, eyes dark and piercing, and told him that for a mere assistant, he seemed far too invested in matters that had nothing to do with him. He leaned in closer, voice dropping lower, warning him that someone might even think he had been sent to spy on him. The assistant trembled under his stare, his composure slipping. Liwei leaned back but kept his eyes fixed on him, warning him to mind his own business. Without another word, he walked out, leaving his assistant rooted to the spot, pale and shaken. Liwei made his way to his car, ready to leave, but just as he was about to get in, Kevin appeared, blocking his path. Liwei turned to face him, his expression stern and unreadable, reminding him in a firm voice that if he wanted to speak, it had to be during office hours and through a proper appointment. He moved to step into his car, but Kevin stopped him again, his own frustration boiling over. Kevin accused him of already manipulating Amara into being with him, but said that using his position as university director to interfere with her studies was crossing a line. Liwei turned back to face him, his voice cold as ice, asking who Kevin thought he was to question him, and what gave him the right to speak in such a manner. Kevin, however, refused to back down. He insisted he was standing up for what was right, telling Liwei he had no authority to let his jealousy interfere in academic matters. He went further, saying that Liwei was suffocating Amara, that she often showed up covered in love bites, and that it was clear he was using her for sex constantly. He added that Amara was innocent, and if she ended up pregnant, it could ruin her studies. Liwei looked at him and then laughed, amused by the audacity of his words. Stepping closer, his presence overwhelming, he told Kevin that Amara was his woman, and that if both he and Amara wished, he could sleep with her every day, every hour, every second. He warned Kevin to stop meddling in his life, making it clear this would be his final warning. The next time he would not be so lenient, and Kevin would regret provoking the monster he kept within. He turned to leave, but paused mid-step. Looking back, his gaze sharpened like a blade as he leaned in slightly, telling Kevin that the next time he saw him touching Amara or even standing too close to her, he would make sure Kevin learned exactly who he was. He reminded him that it seemed he was underestimating him far too much. With that, Liwei got into his car and drove off, leaving Kevin standing there in a mix of anger and unease. As Kevin turned to walk away, something on the ground caught his attention. He noticed Liwei had dropped a USB drive. Picking it up, Kevin turned it over in his hand, curiosity stirring as he wondered what secrets it might contain. Slipping it into his pocket, he walked away, determined to find out. Meanwhile, Amara and Momo sat together at an amusement park, each holding an ice cream. Momo looked at Amara with a bright smile, teasing that she really was the best friend ever, bringing her all the way to an amusement park and even buying her ice cream. Leaning in playfully, she asked what she had done to deserve such treatment. Amara smiled back, but deep down she knew the real reason. She had brought Momo out to soften the moment when she told her she was moving in with Liwei. Yet seeing Momo so happy made her heart ache with guilt. Soon, Momo asked when she would be coming back to the dorm room. She confessed it was lonely without her, and that she felt bored staying there by herself. Amara's smile faded slightly, and after taking a deep breath, she told her that she wasn't coming back. She was actually moving out of the dorm. Surprised, Momo stared at her and asked why. Her voice carried a hint of hurt as she wondered if something was wrong, or if Amara simply didn't enjoy staying with her. Amara quickly reassured her that it wasn't like that at all. Then, carefully, she admitted that she was moving in with Liwei. Momo's expression immediately shifted. Disappointment washed over her as she dropped her ice cream spoon, calling it ridiculous that Amara would move in with a man she hadn't even been dating that long. She reminded her that they weren't even married yet, and moving in together was too soon. Amara tried to explain, insisting that she had her own reasons. What she couldn't reveal was the truth, that she was moving in with Liwei for protection because of the danger that surrounded her. Reaching for her hands, Momo pleaded with her to come back to her senses. She said she knew Amara was deeply in love with Liwei, but warned her that moving in together so soon was a mistake. She asked if Liwei had pressured her into it, adding that if he had, she would confront him herself. Amara quickly shook her head, assuring her that it wasn't like that. She repeated that she had her own reasons, though she couldn't say more. But Momo's eyes stayed fixed on her. She could tell Amara was hiding something important. With a voice soft but firm, she pressed further, telling her she would never judge her and asking if there was more to the story that she wasn't sharing. Amara's gaze lingered on her friend, her heart torn in two. Part of her wanted to trust Momo with everything, but another part remembered Liwei's advice, urging her to conceal the truth. The weight of the choice left her silent. Momo, watching her closely, pleaded again for honesty. Just as Amara opened her mouth to respond, a small voice called out. A little boy ran toward her, calling her sister and asking why she had left him, saying he had missed her dearly. Both Amara and Momo froze. Momo's eyes flicked between the child and Amara, shock written across her face. She asked curiously if the boy wasn't May's younger son, then looked at Amara with suspicion, questioning why he was calling her his sister and whether she was somehow related to May and James. Panic gripped Amara before she could form a response. The little boy, oblivious to the tension, looked at Momo and explained that Amara was indeed his big sister. He added innocently that she used to live with them and that she had once promised never to leave. But she did. Head turned sharply back toward Amara, her mind racing with questions. Confusion and doubt clouded her expression as she tried to piece everything together. And then, as if the situation wasn't already overwhelming, May herself appeared. The sight of her made Amara's heart freeze. Memories of pain and trauma came flooding back, her body stiffening in fear. She sat rooted to the spot, unable to move, eyes wide as May approached. Her trembling fingers hovered over the panic button, ready to press it the moment May tried anything sinister. Before Amara could press the panic button, May greeted both of them warmly with a smile. She remarked that it had been such a long time since they last saw each other, adding with a light chuckle that Amara had disappeared without even bothering to visit them, despite everything they had once done for her. Amara sat frozen, unable to respond, her eyes fixed anywhere but on May's. She couldn't bring herself to meet that gaze, not with all the memories clawing at her mind. May, unfazed, smiled at her son and gently told him that they should go, since it seemed that Sister Amara didn't want to talk to them. With that, she walked away with the boy, leaving Amara still paralyzed in her seat. Momo, now more curious than ever, turned to Amara with countless thoughts racing through her head. She asked her again, what exactly was going on? How did she know May? Was she somehow related to them? Amara's voice carried urgency as she told Momo they should leave the amusement park and go back to school. But Momo shook her head in refusal, saying they had just arrived and hadn't even done any activities yet. She added firmly that she wasn't going anywhere until she got answers about what was really going on. Amara hesitated, torn between confession and concealment. Finally, she broke the silence. She admitted that she did know May and James, explaining that before starting university, she had worked as their nanny. That, she said, was why the little boy kept calling her his older sister. Relieved, Momo let out a small laugh, saying that Amara had been acting as though she were hiding something terrible, when in reality it was something so simple. She joked that never in her life would she have guessed Amara had once worked for May and James. It wasn't exactly on her bingo card. Leaning in closer, Momo lowered her voice and whispered a question. Had Amara ever seen their daughter, the one in a coma? Amara immediately shook her head, denying it without hesitation. Still, she couldn't help but glance toward May. Even from a distance, even with sunglasses shielding her eyes, Amara could feel the sharpness of her gaze boring into her. A shiver ran down her spine. Standing abruptly, Amara told Momo they needed to leave. Now. Momo frowned, asking why she was suddenly so eager to go, pointing out that the amusement park was the perfect place to have fun. But Amara stood her ground. She insisted that they could go somewhere else. Anywhere else. Seeing the seriousness in her friend's eyes, Momo finally gave in. She agreed that they could leave and suggested finding another place instead, since Amara clearly wasn't comfortable there. Together, they walked away. Amara's pace was quick, her steps heavy with unease. All she wanted was to put distance between herself and May. She didn't trust her, not for a second. Every instinct screamed that May was capable of something dangerous, and Amara knew it was better to escape before it was too late.